What's up, dudes? Max here, and I'm back finally with an opportunity after all the craziness that was the last weekend to talk to you guys a bit about my impressions, my overall reaction and thoughts on Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Of course, leading up to the initial CG trailer's release, which took place at the PlayStation Experience, I made several videos leading up into this thing, as I was pretty damn excited, but not entirely hopeful. My first video left us at a blistering 5% chance of this happening because I genuinely felt that. The chance of this game actually being a reality were so slim as far as everything I'd heard and everything that had been happening in the past, that there was just barely any hope at all. But more and more as we went on during the week, the likelihood got greater and greater, leading until the eventual trailer release, where I lost my shit.
Dude, this is... What the fuck is this? Get the fuck out!
That's what a person looks like when a brand new entry to their favorite fighting game series shows up out of almost nowhere. Really, the thing that got me was Mega Man X, and the fact that he was the first thing they chose to show, and based on some recent information, this was very deliberate, because he was at the top of the polls for many fan requests leading into future Versus games. So, it goes to show that they're definitely looking to fan requests in terms of some of the more popular characters they might be choosing. Now, the most shocking part of the entire reveal for Infinite is the fact that the game is technically a reboot, like was also rumored earlier in the week, meaning that they are taking the mechanics down to a different level than we remember. Since it's not Marvel vs. Capcom 4, this game is more focused on a 2 vs. 2 fighting style, and we got a huge glimpse of that with the gameplay trailers that came over the next couple days. When I first heard about this during the rumors, I was fairly disappointed. It does make sense that it's going to happen since the game is technically rebooting the series, but at the same time it does feel like a step back. I do feel, personally, that they really have to substitute a gameplay mechanic that is damn fun, and we're also losing assists. This game is going to heavily focus on the fact that it is a 2 vs. 2 team-based game, and right now it's changing a lot of what we know from the Marvel mold. I do trust these guys, and I've also learned that several key members from the earlier Versus games, we're talking way back in the Marvel superheroes, X-Men Children of the Atom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, I've been told that several team members that were actually a part of the development cycle for those games are working on this game over in Capcom Japan. And here's the other huge shocker, this game is not being developed by an outside developer. Many usually don't realize this, but Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 were primarily developed by a different company by the name of Dimps over in Japan, and Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 were all developed by aiding another fighting game developer known heavily for the Bloody Roar series over in Japan as well. But this time is different. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is the first fighting game that is being developed in-house at Capcom entirely in just about over 10 to 15 years. There has been some other games like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure HD release that came out like 4 years ago that was also made in-house, but if we're talking about new fighting games, this is the first one that Capcom has made internally in a very long time, and that could be extremely good news, which has me excited for the fact that they don't have to outsource things anymore to other developers, which ends up being expensive and cumbersome in the long run. If they want to patch something, if they want to add more characters, if they want to add future support for this game, it is now a lot easier because they simply just have to go to the people that are in-house working on the game. And that is a huge deal for the Versus series because the entirety of the Versus series has never really gotten post-launch support, unless you want to consider Marvel 3 Ultimate Edition, which was heavily in development even when Marvel 3 Vanilla was. So I'm just saying this is a very good thing going forward in the future, and it has me very excited. That's the Capcom Japan side of things where the game is developed, but the other huge aspect of this is that the producer for this game isn't actually in Japan. The producer for Marvel Infinite is actually over at Capcom USA, and this is most likely heavily due to the fact that Marvel Games is over in the USA, and the Marvel guys seem to have a much bigger influence on this game than previous games, where it kind of felt like for Ultimate Marvel 3 or any of the Marvel vs. Capcoms before, Capcom was kind of going to Marvel for a request to use characters and licenses, and then getting those licenses to make it happen. This almost seems to be entirely different for this game because now, and especially after talking to them personally, the dudes at Marvel Games are saying that this is a joint project. They are working on this together to make things happen, which possibly means that the huge licensing issues that they've run into in the past might not be as much of a problem. Doesn't mean we're going to see Fantastic Four characters and mutants right off the bat. Well, I don't know, but they are not saying no right now, which is definitely very interesting. All that stuff, after talking to them and talking to the guys at Capcom USA, left me with a lot of confidence leaving PlayStation Experience. But after seeing the gameplay and the game in motion, a little bit different. My initial reaction when I was at PlayStation Experience was extremely good. I thought it looked even better than the CG trailer, but after going home under closer inspection, actually checking out the look of the game, there are some things I do have gripes about. Sure, it does look good. They're taking a lot from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 character movesets, the way things look, and I'm going to make a future video talking about this in the gameplay breakdown later on. There's many similarities to Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and the Marvel 3 series within the move lists of these characters, but the big one is that, yes, it is 2 versus 2, but the overall look of the game is a little iffy right now. It definitely has the overall visual aesthetic of something like Marvel Contest of Champions. It does absolutely look better than a mobile game, but right now the game just has this very weird grayish, yellowish filter over the entire level and characters, and some of the characters don't look too hot right now. I actually think Captain Marvel looks absolutely fantastic, as well as Iron Man, but right now, some of the stuff we're seeing with Captain America, X, and Ryu is just a little iffy, and it reminds me the fact that this game is still super early and potentially a year out from release. I don't know if you guys remember looking at Street Fighter V footage, which was just over a year from launch when they first showed it at the PlayStation Experience. That stuff looks extremely rough by comparison to what it looks like now. I'm confident things are going to change, but the art style for this game is a lot different than Ultimate Marvel 3, which had its very harsh black ink-like shadows. It was meant to look like a comic book, and the characters really popped off the screen. Right now, that's not really happening. Things are kind of blending together a little too much, and the visual impact of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite isn't nearly as striking as the other Versus series, at least right now. I'm very confident this stuff is going to change, and leading forward to things like E3 going into 2017, we're going to see some pretty big differences in the visuals of this game, and I definitely hope they're for the better and they make some changes along the way. I am still ridiculously excited for this game. There are some things I definitely want to talk about in a gameplay breakdown that's going to be coming on this channel very soon, where we meticulously dissect every single thing that's being shown within the game right now and actually compare them to previous games to see how similar it is, because there is a lot of similarities, which might not specifically be a bad thing. Instead, a greater chance for those characters to actually make appearances in Infinite, because they don't have to do all the crazy work that is making a brand new character. They have to take their move lists and their moves and their animations and then adjust them towards this new game, which could give Capcom more of an opportunity to add more characters, at least ones that are brand new and have brand new movesets like we've seen with Captain Marvel. I can't wait to see more, and as soon as there is more, I will be back to update you guys on the future development of this game, because right now, this is my #1 most anticipated fighting game. I never thought I'd be saying that Marvel vs. Capcom, a new game, is going to be making an appearance in 2017, but here we are. Somehow it's happened. The dream has come true. I'm not completely convinced that everything I'm seeing makes me 100% happy after seeing the gameplay trailer, but it is very early and things are absolutely going to change down the road, and I can't wait to see those changes, and I'll be back to report on them as soon as possible. As always, guys, thank you a ton for watching. Stay tuned, and I appreciate a subscription to this channel as I cover pretty much a ton of fighting games around here, not just Marvel vs. Capcom and Street Fighter, and I'll be back with a full breakdown talking about the mechanics, the characters, and what exactly is going on in these trailers that we can look forward to gameplay-wise and what the characters are potentially going to do in the game. As always, guys, thank you a ton for watching. My name is Max, and I'll see you next time.